Uber riders, Lyft drivers, YouTube subscribers, how are we today? Good to see you. So, some interesting developments, right? We all know the AB5 passed. Very good morning to Ram Jam, to Speed Racer. Always love seeing their faces in my live feed. I know that they fight the fight with us drivers, and we have a lot of good, loyal, smart people in our house that drive the cause forward and stand for drivers, right? These are all voice for drivers. Yassine, Tony, Chris, Aldante, Odai. Good to see you guys. So, as you know, you've probably seen several videos floating around of myself, Kevin the entrepreneur, Dave, Thomas, all taking a nice 7-hour drive up to Sacramento. We went on the day when Uber organized the rally, right? And if you've seen any of the videos out there, this was a very orchestrated, we believe, paid for move. And thank you to guys like Harry Campbell's guy who reports Ezra, who got it on film. Thank you to Kevin, who got it on film. That a lot of these people there said they went there for the $100 gift card. Their travels were paid. So basically, if it's true, these were paid goons. These were paid shills, right? And that Uber, you're going to wear that cap for the rest of your life because that is disgraceful. That is just the lowest of all low cards. It's like, hey, rent a friend. I don't have a friend, but I will rent a friend. So Uber drew the rent a crowd card. I can tell you that this crowd up here the day before, the very next day after the rally, all the troops came out, right? And they filled those stairs and they were chanting and loud, and they got a lot of media presence. So wherever they came from, I know that buses, convoys came up from LA. We drove up from LA, right? There were 2 days, one day the rally, second day, a whole bunch of different bodies, gig workers, Rideshare Unite. And I saw all these splendid people there in Sacramento standing up for themselves. And I could not be prouder. I can tell you this, and I've already reached out to all of these organizations. I could not be prouder of what we all achieved together, because here's the thing, it's a step in the right direction. Now, no matter where you stand on this, I respect your views. We just went up there to do some, to shed some light on the story. But this AB5 passed, right? I think 3-1 or 4-1. I'm also going to show you the link where you can actually follow the updates on that bill. And now it gets interesting, right? Now it goes through to Gavin Newsom, to the politicians. The bill is going to be written, and it's going to be going in back and forth. But in the poker game, as I call it, right, we collectively had better cards, because now the pressure is truly on Uber and Lyft. The bottom line, the way I've always been reporting on this, the way I preach on this specific matter, is that as long as we're at the table, the drivers, we're going to come out with a better deal. Now we are more or less forced to the table. So that, from me, gets 2 thumbs up. This is not, mark my words, this is not going to end up as the classic employee status. I don't think that any of the drivers are going to be employees. I think now that the old non-functioning, non-paying system has been met with a employment sort of status full on in their face, and we're going to move to the middle. So whatever deal we get at the end of the day, it's going to be better than it was before. Our rights, our benefits, a voice, and the bottom line, there has to be more pay. So this was a huge loss, enormous loss of epic proportions for Uber and Lyft, as well as for Postmates, as well as for DoorDash and all these others, right? Because now this thing is in the system, and it's going to be this whole new gig contract or final document that's going to be produced is going to be hashed out from both sides. But the bottom line, by this advancing, by this passing, it has put such tremendous pressure on Uber and Lyft, right? And we got to seize that moment, we got to capitalize, and we got to push. So I'm actually working right now with a good senator friend, as well as my client deputy attorney, to get another day at the Capitol. I'm going to sit down with these guys and say, listen, we will relentlessly expose you, right? You're not going to get our vote in the next elections. You may not even get our vote when it comes to the big day in 2020, right? If you do not bring drivers to the table. This is the only language that politicians understand, right? So we have to continue exercising pressure on them, because we cannot have a handful of lobbyists pay off these individuals, right? And decide for us, which now leads me to a very, very interesting, and this is where I want you guys to spread the word. So the first thing that Derek Kay did, follow this through, one of the smartest moves he made, because this guy here, Tony West, is related to Kamala Harris. He's related to Kamala Harris, and I'll show you later how they are related. They brought him in as the CLO. He is the chief legal guy, the counsel for Uber. And after this whole AB5 passes, they posed a lot of questions to him. It is very important that I read those questions and I read his answers, because they just show that they're scared and things are going to change. But I ask you, why did they choose this guy back in 2017 with heavy, heavy political contacts, right? With heavy contacts to Kamala Harris and others, right? They chose him for that purpose only because they were worried that this whole vote on the AB5 was coming up, and they needed some heavy, heavy hitters with heavy relationships to insiders at the Capitol in California, right? That's the only way they may still have a seat at the table, Uber and Lyft, now that this AB5 has passed. So I'm going to jump in to some questions that were posed to Tony West. Remember, this is their head legal counsel. And if you're listening in, Tony West, I would highly suggest you read the comments of Marcus, Mike Bastoni, Hisham, Trevino, Harold, Mike, Payman Ali, Jay Mills. Come read in here, because these people will truly tell you how your company, you're the general counsel for them, is treating my brothers and sisters, including myself, right? So you got to come to the table. And the way you can make this happen, Tony, is to invite us to the table, because we can write history with you, my friend. But if your go it alone attitude or working with politicians attitude, not going to fly. We'll expose it every step of the way, just as our little recon team that went up there exposed the story that Uber was apparently paying $100 things to buy off these people, to buy off these so-called independent contract t-shirt wearers, right, who got a free slice of pizza, right? So I think on that specific one, our mission was accomplished. We went up there, we held up the mirror, we split up. The good thing is that, we had 4, 5, 6 cameras live going at the same time, and we split up, because maybe I'll capture something there. Maybe he'll capture something there. Maybe Ezra will capture a story there. Maybe Kevin's going to overhear something here. So we spread out strategically, trying to get as much info. Dave just did a fantastic recap, a video of the trip up, the actual date and back. And then the next day, these big strikes happen. So the question posed to counsel, and this is literally a day after facing this AB5 issue, they said to the head counsel, is AB5 the biggest threat that exists for Uber? Is AB5 the biggest threat that exists for Uber? Bigger than Didi Chuxing, the company? Bigger than not making money? Bigger than the Travis Kalanick era scandals? Is AB5, the biggest threat that exists for Uber. And we're going to allow Tony West, Retro, I appreciate you. What's up? I have some footage to 26 minutes. Send it on over. Dropbox, hit me up with the email. Any type of footage, any screenshots helps my story to help you, to help us, right? So the amount of information I get on a daily basis, texted to me, emailed to me, creates the story headlines, my friend. So keep it coming. Whatever you guys are doing, you're doing it right. You're bringing me superb intel that I can use in the streams. And I do. You can see it. I represent the people, and I often will tell a story about a driver, allow them to phone in, share their story, so your voice is truly heard in our house. So Tony West now, when that question was asked to him, he laughs, right? So he starts laughing and saying, no, it's not. It's not the biggest threat. I've been here for almost 19 months. When I started, we had a lot on our plate. Listen to him. We were facing a lawsuit with Waymo. My first day, we announced a data breach from 2016. We had a number of investigations going on. We had a culture in need of serious repair, right? So they want to play the good card now. Hey, whatever we did in the past was bad, and I'm here to clean up and show you that we will do good. That's sort of my take on his answer. So he says, we had a number of investigations going on. We had a culture in need of serious repair, very serious repair. We've come from that to a company with best-in-class governance. I wouldn't agree with you on that one. When he says we've come from that past to a company with best-in-class governance. No, you haven't, because there's still story after story emerging. So that, my friend, is a flat-out lie. He says we resolved the Waymo case with those adversaries, now investors. We resolved the data breach with all 50 states and with regulators around the world. And we have been on a journey to really repair the culture and improve morale. You have not improved morale, quite the opposite. You have destroyed morale amongst the drivers, right? So, and now we're a public company, and we are a brand that is a verb, a very high profile company. We are upfront that we still have a lot of work to do. Let's just take his last answer, right? And guys, I'm gonna jump in there. I'm not ignoring Randy. I'm not ignoring Rideshare Confessions. I'm not ignoring Paula. I got to get this out here, this info, you know, while you guys, the public, is watching, so we can just show how they get their counsel, who is related to Kamala Harris, who was appointed in 2017 by Dara, their CLO, their legal officer, chief legal officer, right? How he answers and truly shows that he is petrified, that he's scared of this AB5. So he says, and now that we're a public company and we are a brand that is a verb, a very high profile company, we are upfront that we still have a lot of work to do. And yes, that is so true. You have a lot of work and a lot of repairs to do. Excuse the sarcasms. The question then posed by the reporter was, what are the ramifications of AB5? Now that this is passed, right, what are the ramifications of AB5? People don't fully, his answer, people don't fully appreciate that AB5 is a codification of what the California Supreme Court has already determined. So it is already the law of the land. The Dynamex decision underscored the need to improve the quality of independent work. We have many, many people working in the on-demand economy. How do we make sure that it offers as much protections and security and fulfillment as any other type of work? This goes far beyond some argument about whether or not someone's an employee. We have an opportunity here to be very, very deliberate and not stumble into an economic disruption as independent, flexible work becomes more and more mainstream, okay? How would you do that? So this is important to me here, now that they've posed this question about the AB5, he's answered it now. What is your intent? What is your company's intent now that this AB5 has passed? How will you address it? And you're the legal counsel, right? How are you going to build this bridge over to the House, to the people, right? How would you do that? Well, we've been working really hard to negotiate with Labour and other stakeholders, behind the scenes, to create a framework that allows for flexibility and security. Now that they've been forced to do that, they have to, right? But before, believe me, his wording, his answers would have been completely different. Now that the light is on these guys, they have to start talking and give us real answers. We put on the table, I always talk about the table, a standard for drivers to have earnings, stability, and transparency by creating a floor for earnings. Those are wonderful words, my friend Tony West, but none of them we know are true today. So that's a flat out lie, right? When you tell us that we put on the table a standard for drivers to have earnings, stability, and transparency, it's quite the opposite, right? It's poor earnings, instability, and zero transparency, in my eyes. And I'm just giving you my version here, right? So fluffy words, cute words, pretty words, but they don't stick. Drivers can always earn more, but they would know with some certainty that their earnings will never fall below a certain level. They will never fall below a certain level. The level that you have created is the ultimate low. So, I mean, how low can you go? Lower than that certain level? Wow. We're also proposing a basket of benefits. Yeah, now that you're forced to, right? Whether retirement benefits, paid time off, lifelong learning, a whole host of benefits. See, they're only forced now to even look at benefits because we brought the fight to them. We brought the strikes to them around the country. We showed up at the Capitol, right? All those efforts for all those naysayers that said the strikes never worked. Whatever you're doing there is a waste of time. I say to you, you were wrong. You're absolutely wrong, because if someone now today, their chief legal counsel, has to choose these words, right? That we are also proposing a basket of benefits, whether retirement benefits, paid time off, lifelong learning, a whole host of benefits. This was never on the table. We, the people who went striking, forced these issues to be discussed at the table. And this is what they're going to hash out. So whatever happens in August when they both sides sign off on this, right? This is in the back and forth stage right now. We have to come out better. We have to keep on striking. We have to keep on going to the Capitol and engaging with those politicians. That's what I'm going to do. I'm setting up strategic interviews. I'm going to request that these politicians at the state Capitol answer those questions live, that you guys can participate and ask those questions, and I can call out a person and I can say, hey, Payman Ali asked the following question. Would you, dear politician, please answer him here live on the feed, right? That's what I want to hold these people accountable. Show them that we're behind them. Show them that if they don't incorporate us, if they don't listen to the drivers, they can be voted out. You know, that is the power at the end of the day, that over 380,000 drivers in California, if we can vote your butt out, right? So you better have us at the table. So this is more or less what I've been saying for the last few weeks, is that this guy's talking about the table, the other guys are talking about the table. We will be at the table, and I'll keep on fighting to be at that table. We will enjoy part of that meal at the table. Send your reviews. I appreciate you. So let me carry on. I really want to highlight what this dude says, because the reason why I am making this video is because I hope at some stage he watches this video, right? and that his words don't quite match, that his words and his promises don't quite match what we are getting at the receiving end, right? And that we're going to hold him accountable, and that we're going to hold all politicians accountable. And the third leg of the stool is making sure that workers have a voice, really, have representation, really, have an ability to weigh in on the policies that shape how we conduct business. Yeah, we forced those issues. We forced the voice upon you. So now you say we will have a voice. Believe me, we will have a voice at the table, right? You know, that's why we're pushing relentlessly here. The next question posed to him. Question: all of those things could be provided very easily by making workers employees, right? This is a tough one for him right now. AB5 author, Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez said she'd be happy to enshrine into the legislation that employers can be as flexible as they want, right? Smart verbiage, right? Employers can be as flexible as they want, right? Be classified as an employer, but still have all the flexibility you want. So you're not told to drive a certain amount of hours, that you can get in the car whenever you want, right? So this has to be carefully worded, but her answer is smart there when she says, we're happy to enshrine into the legislation that employers can be as flexible as they want. They do not have to schedule their workers. They can let them punch in and out at will. This is an important one for us. We want to punch in and out at will. We want to drive when we want to drive. If I want to do the 12 o'clock at night till the 4 a.m. shift, so be it. If the other guy, if she wants to do 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., so she can, right? So that right is extremely important, that we are given that flexibility. And I want to see that flexibility in that bill, right? This is a must, right? We will not compromise on this one, on this flexibility, right? So now that we have them at the table, these are some of the conditions that we have to put down, right? Before this AB5, this wasn't even a talking point. Now that we forced the issue, this is a talking point, right? So she says they do not have to schedule their workers. They can let them punch in and out at will. So why not go with the existing model? So his answer is drivers don't want to be employees. And he's got a strong point there, that they strictly, as the word says, they don't want to be employees. He carries on. We've polled them, and the overwhelming majority say they value the fact that they don't have a boss. No one tells them when and where, how to work. They choose when to work, and they choose for whom to work. Folks in the on-demand economy make that choice every single day, and that flexibility is what they value the most. That is a true statement, and we will fight for that flexibility in this new bill, right? It's going to be coded in there. We're going to make sure the drivers get that wording into this agreement, right? The politicians, Uber, cannot sell us out or go against their promise on that one. We have to have that in writing, signed, sealed, and delivered. The other thing is that they don't just work for one company. Very true. Many have both Uber and Lyft decals on their windows. They've accepted that as a norm now, right? This idea that you could simply work for one company one day and another company another day and have that flexibility as an employee is simply not realistic, right? So he's saying that as a strict employee, you wouldn't be able to do that. But now, dear Tony, now that we have you at the table, now that you have brought up 2 points, which we are going to have you write into that contract, right? We will, A, want to drive when and where we want, right? Whichever hour we choose, whichever company we choose. Those are 2 starting points, right? All the added extras, better pay, better benefits, a voice, those are other things that have to be in this contract. So they're literally going to rewrite the book here, right? It's not going to be that old style, independent contractor status with poor pay as they forced onto us. It's not going to be stamped or or stamped that we are going to be an employee in the classical term of an employee. No, we are going to rewrite the book. We are going to rewrite the laws with the politicians and the companies so that it becomes a win-win-win situation. Remember, the state also wants to win in this. The companies want to win, and the companies and the drivers want to win. So the way this contract has to be set up, before it's solidified in stone, is that it has to be a win for the company, a win for the drivers, and a win for the politicians. This is how we have to steer this ship, my friends. So here and there, we'll have to give up a little. Here and there, we'll have to demand more. But at the end of the day, we have to come out way better than we did before, than we are working right now. Whatever's happening right now is not working for us, right? So Romeo, Joey Driver, all of you guys, I still see you there at the corner of my eye. I'll jump in there. I just want to get through these Q&As here with this chief legal counsel from Uber, how he addresses the AB5, right? And a lot of the sort of the promises that they make, we're going to get. We're going to hold them accountable, right? We're going to hold Tony accountable. Every word he says in this interview, right? I'm going to share that link. Okay. So they can decide not to work for 3 weeks, and guess what? They'll never be fired because of that. That kind of dynamism, whatever the word is, where people are making the decisions minute to minute, whether to work, simply does not exist in the traditional employment framework. So, question, in exchange for these protections of wage floor, benefits, and driver voice, you want legislation saying that drivers are independent contractors, correct? Listen up. Probably the most important question posed to the chief legal counsel. In exchange for these protections of a wage floor, a minimum, right, benefits and driver voice, you want legislation saying that drivers are independent contractors, right? His answer. We can create a framework. Listen to that wording. We can create a framework. So they're willing to create a new framework. But within that framework, folks, drivers, that's where we have to be present. We have to be part of that framework, right? What is the framework, right? It's a frame, it's a picture. We have to appear in that picture frame, the drivers. Again, this is not just between them, the politicians, and them, the companies. We're included here. That is why we drive up to Sacramento. That is why we strike. That is why hundreds and hundreds of people descended on Sacramento. So he says, we can create a framework to support individuals whose independent work. We do need a legislative vehicle to enshrine this kind of framework, right? This is about creating something very new. So he's open to this now. This is about creating something very new to improve the quality of independent work. Something you never dreamt of before, something you never said before, something you never uttered in your lifetime, is that we do need a legislative vehicle to enshrine this kind of framework. This is about creating something very new to improve the quality of independent work. Wow. Suddenly you're using these words. Where were those words in the past, right? We forced you to say that. As competitors, we can't engage in some of these things, such as agreeing on drivers' earnings without running afoul of antitrust laws. Question posed to him. Many drivers don't feel that they have dignity of work when Uber can change rates arbitrarily, right? They feel trapped because they value the flexibility but lack the control over their earnings of being truly independent. This is what it's about. Very, very well captured in this question by this reporter. They feel trapped. We feel trapped because they value the flexibility but lack the control over their earnings of being truly independent, right? This is where they always hold us ransom. This is where they hold us hostage, my friends, right? It's like, okay, we're going to give you this little bit of flexibility, but you're not going to get any earnings. right? So he says, we've heard from drivers that the inability to predict earnings over time can be difficult because there are times when you can make a whole lot driving for Uber, and then there are other times when it's not as clear. That's why we want to create this earnings floor, a standard that would be at least a minimum wage plus expenses. Buddy, let me just read your answer again. We've heard from drivers that the inability to predict earnings over time can be difficult because there are times where you can make a whole lot driving for Uber, and then other times where it's not as clear. That's not answering the questions, right? That's like, okay, it's probably in the north, could be in the south, maybe in the west or in the east. That's a classic attorney answer. That is a classic political answer. You're not addressing the question, right? The bottom line is what he's saying. Sometimes you make a lot of money, sometimes you don't, right? We can't really control it. No, here's the truth. You want to hear the truth? That from Monday to Monday, if even I have a good Saturday and a good Friday night, what I end up earning the next Monday is far, far less, right? Far less than I did about a year ago. And it's not cutting it. So that's not answering the question, Tony West. Not at all. When he says that's why we want to create this earnings floor, we are forcing you to create this earnings floor, that we have to agree on a minimum, because your minimum is not cutting it, right? And we are not going to stand for it. So, I'm telling you folks, it's a good thing that this AB5 passed. No, drivers will not become classic employees. No, we are not going to get the same crappy treatment as in the past. We now have these guys. We own these guys. Why? Because they've shown their true colors. They've shown their weakest cards, and now we're going to build upon that. Question to him, how would you determine expenses? Would you use the IRS rate of 50 cents per mile? He says there are different ways to calculate that. That's not the only standard. That detail is one I'm absolutely confident we can work out. Okay. Now he said, you're offering that pay floor from the moment a driver accepts a ride request until the ride ends. What about times when the drivers have the app on and are cruising around waiting for riders? Good question again, right? Really good questions. What Inland Empire, what's it? Torsten was at Sacramento on Tuesday. What's your dilemma? Who's I haven't looked into the room. Who's having a dilemma there? Where's Kamran? Let's see, Kamran. Kamran, what are you up to? Do we need to give you a timeout, Kamran? Speak up, Kamran. Apparently some people have shone the light on you. What does Kamran say? Does he need to be smacked out the room, or is he misbehaving? Do we need to flush? He's questioning your colors. What colors? Where is he? I got to see the. Cameron Khan, Professor, why did you not show up on Wednesday, Sacramento? Look like you work for Uber all the YouTube hours. Oh, Cameron, firstly, did you come up to me when I was in Sacramento the whole day? Did you drive up for 7 hours to Sacramento to be there, Cameron Khan? Did you come from a city that's 400 miles away to stand up for your brothers and sisters? Answer me that, Cameron, right? Never, ever question my loyalty. If I was not interested, if I was not engaged, I would have stayed at home. I would have made money. No, I paid for the whole trip. I paid for the gas. I paid for the parking. Probably dropped about $150 for my brothers and sisters that day. They didn't pay a cent. I paid for all of that. So you questioning my loyalties, Cameron? Shame on you. So we carry on. And then as far as the other day, right, I have family commitments the next day. If I could have stayed over, if the other guys could have stayed over, the other guy had to go back, right? Some of the two other people had to drive back. So I was forced to drive back, right? If I had not had the family commitments, if other people did not have set, this was quickly decided upon by 4 people who got in the car. I took action. Who drove up, Cameron? Where were you, buddy? I didn't see you, right? So barking from the sidelines, cheap trick, my friend. And then the other thing is, the next day, an army of people came up, right? All we could have maybe done is got that footage. We got the real scoop, and that was that Uber was paying these shills, right? That's the real scoop. And I'm super proud of the team, and I'm glad I spent the money going up and driving 14 hours. We left at 4 o'clock in the morning. What time did we get back in LA? 1 a.m. at night, right, Cameron? Can you even stay awake that long, Cameron? So I have no time for these little cheap little puppies here that Guten Morgen, mein Freund Paul, wie geht's? Good. Zola. Yep. Anyway, had to call the fool out. Sounds like he's quiet now. I continue. So he says, question, you're offering that pay floor from the moment a driver accepts a ride, requests until the ride ends. What about the times when drivers have the app on and are cruising around waiting for riders? He says, we wouldn't be paying for the time in which someone is not working and could have many, many apps on. If someone wakes up in the middle of the night and turns on the app and they're not even in their car, I don't know if it's fair to expect that they would be compensated for that time. Basically saying, if you're on the app sitting out there waiting for your next trip, we're not going to be paying for that, right? Rafael Mendes in the house. Yeah, the puppy, the junior boy got a timeout. Denver Mitch, how are you? Let me jump in there a little bit before I jump back to this long-winded question and answer session. But it's truly important to hear, right, what the Uber General Counsel says, how he answers these reporters' questions. I think there's a lot of value to it. James Skidmore in the house. Notice he's not saying anything in his defense. He's welcome to chime in, but he doesn't have an argument. He wasn't there. He didn't spend the money, right? You know, you must understand at California gas prices, I mean, I put 900 something miles on my Cadillac Escalade, right? Over $100 in gas, maybe $120 in gas round trip. This is a 6.2 liter engine, right? Then food, then $20 for parking. People don't realize it quickly adds up. Then you're not even working. So if you really want to do the numbers, you're in a negative, you're in a minus if you take the day off and you have all of these expenses and you drive up to Sacramento. But it wasn't about the money. It was about the cause. It was about being there, holding these people responsible, right? Because a lot of the people that are driving an X that day, my brothers and sisters, they got to be out there and make and earn the monies. I have other income streams, so I can easily take the day off. It's not, for me, it's not about the money. It's about the cause. It's about confronting Uber people like we did. We found some Uber people and asking tough questions, right? It's getting the scoop. And the scoop of the day was that people admitted that they had received money from this. So if that is true, then Uber paid a whole bunch of shills and goons to show up, get paid, and dance their dance and sing their song and talk their talk, right? That's disgusting, my friends. That's how you pimp yourself out. You sell yourself out you sell your soul for $100. Is your soul worth $100? Shame on you, every person that accepted $100. And what I said to Kevin, the entrepreneur, I wanted him to make a video and offer any driver, I'm going to pay for it. I said to Kevin, I'm vouching for the $100. Anybody shows Kevin in his stream that they received $100, they got a check, they got a receipt, their name, I'm going to match that to the first guy that steps forward. I will pay an additional $100. So that $100 that Kevin is speaking about, I made that pledge in the car that I will put that $100 up to any person out there that got paid by Uber or by this organization to be there and stick true to the script, right? We're independent. We want to remain independent, but not once did any one of these people who apparently got the $100 confront Uber and Lyft and say, the pay sucks, the earnings sucks, the conditions suck? No, they didn't do that, right? They stuck to the script. So 2080 split back, as B Vlogging Live says, that's wishful thinking. But if we can get it to a 70-30 scenario, that would be great. That's what it's sort of hovering right now with GOAT, right? Is that it's going to be a 75-25 or a 70-30 split. This 80-20, I don't think you can quite make a company work, right? But that's how they got the drivers to sign up initially, 80-20. Internal memos, yeah, I agree. We need those. We need to see this. Why is Felix being called a coward? You got to always, Ivan says it correctly, you got to always stand up for yourself. If you don't have a voice, if you don't have a spine, you're not a human. You're going to be a spineless individual all your life, right? You have to stand for something in life, right? That's why I say, if either you stand like completely for this AB5, or you say completely, I'm okay with the current conditions and I will remain a contractor, right? If you're standing for something, I'm going to respect that, right? What does Felix say? Sometimes you have to, when you have kids to feed. 6 years with Uber, you can't trust them. Denver Mitch says, I stand up by not taking loser fares. Know your value. Always know your value. Set that value, set that bar high for yourself, right? Don't lower your standards, right? Don't sell out 2 for 1, 50% discount. Don't sell out. Set the bar high for yourself, folks, really. Because you're valuable. You have such insane value, each and every one of you, right? Got to set the bar high. We are not just going to be cheap trick sellouts. We won't. Ed says, I like that saying, stand for something or you will fall for anything. Dude, can I borrow that line? Superb. Question posed to council, Uber Council. Your proposal says you charge a per trip fee to support a benefits plan. Your proposal says you charge a per trip fee to support a benefits plan. So riders would pay more. Would you pay for the benefits as well? Good question, right? His answer. My guess is that everybody would end up paying more. Everybody? No. Why not the company? Why not the riders? Why is he saying everyone? Is he referring to us drivers as well? There is no question there would be increased costs for the company, but there would be increased cost for riders as well. There he said it. I think everybody would pay a fair share to support drivers. Okay, good. That's the answer we want to have, right? So we're going to hold you to this, buddy. We will literally roast you online if you go against your words. So his word says we've got to increase, the costs of the company towards the drivers as well as the costs for riders. He said it there. There it is, written in stone. And don't go against that, Tony, because we're on you, right? The one thing is we have memory like elephants. We're going to hold you accountable. Paula in the house. No. The AB5 bill advanced 4-1, right? It passed. It's there, right? Now they are going to work on the final language, and mark my words, in August we're going to have an answer, right? But this is an important step, right? It didn't just get kicked out, this AB5, it advanced, right? So if you guys want to follow the updates, I do that. When you go, there's a website called LegiScan. It follows the bill exactly what was done on what date. You can go down here. You can read the dates, right? For example, on the 10th, right, just days ago, from the committee, amend and do pass as amended and refer to, it was 4 ayes, 4 yeses, and noes 1. So almost 4-1, right? And then on the 11th, read second time and amended. So they're going to amend until there's a meeting of the minds. So this here is a pretty cool thing to follow, folks, on this Legiscan. Why don't I just leave this link underneath the video so that you guys can follow the progress of this bill as these amendments are made. Now there's amendments, but the most important step is that it actually passed 4-1 or 3-1, whatever the case is. And now you're going to see amendments. These amendments are going to be in our favor. If this thing didn't even pass or advance, we'd be in shit street back at step 1, right? We wouldn't have had any voice, any say. The fact that this moved into the next round is good for us, right? It's good for us. So you guys can check this out on Legiscan. You could just put in the CA space AB5. You can search for it. This will show up. It's like a tracker. You can track the bill. It's really good with the dates, with the progress, when this started off in 2018 and on and on and on and on. There it is, right? So this guy here, Tony West, there he is, relative of Kamala Harris, chosen by Dara in 2017. Is answering these AB5 questions, right? And every time he answers it, guess what, Tony? We hold you accountable. We, the House, Dustin's house, Harry's house, Gio's house, we all hold you accountable. I shouldn't be speaking on behalf of their channels, but I would say I can comfortably speak on behalf of all the drivers in their channels, right? That we will hold the company accountable if you make any promises out there. So the next question is, how would you ensure that your proposed drivers association actually had some clout? There's a similar group, the Independent Drivers Guild in New York, that gets slammed as being toothless because it doesn't have the same rights as an actual union. It cannot engage in collective bargaining, for instance. So we are not going to allow that. We are not going to allow something that doesn't have any clout, right? We are not going to allow anything that doesn't have collective bargaining. Remember, I use that word a lot, collective bargaining, right? So I am a big advocate. I stand for collective bargaining. Bargaining doesn't have to be in form of joining a union. It could be having our own drivers, independent drivers association or body that oversees it, that actually has a voice. So, for example, he uses this Independent Drivers Guild in New York, where the reporter says they get slammed as being toothless because it doesn't have the same rights as the actual union, and it cannot engage in collective bargaining power, for instance, against Uber and Lyft. Cannot allow that mistake, that New York State mistake, we have to learn from, right? It has to be in the wording, in this contract, right? That we do have collective bargaining power. So if Florida, Texas, or any of the other states wants to adopt a bill that makes sense, that's revised, they can look at our California bill, which takes care of the driver. Now, he says, we are committed to creating a mechanism where drivers' voices are heard, blah, blah, blah. Real input can lead to different results. Our input never mattered to you. It was only your results, Tony. You know, you never listened to our real input. You never listened to the House's input, right? Right? The only results that you wanted to see was the Uber results, Uber's outcome, Uber's control, right? So I'm glad that we're forcing the hand here. He says we welcome that kind of involvement. You have never, ever used that language. You have never, ever used that verbiage. Shame on you for saying we welcome that kind of involvement. You have never, ever welcomed our involvement, right? So what these guys will say when the pressure's on them, unbelievable how they change their tune, right? Exactly what it looks like is still to be worked out. You absolutely right. We are going to work it out for you. So here's a big one. Listen up. And you can quote this when you share this video. At the 50-minute mark of my video comes the question. At the 50-minute mark of my video comes the question. Your sister-in-law, Kamala Harris, by the way, she's running in 2020, along with several other Democratic presidential candidates, tweeted support for drivers when they staged protests outside this very building and held a worldwide strike last month. Your wife is her campaign manager. Tony West, Uber's wife, is Kamala Harris's campaign manager. Did that cause any dissent at home? So let's break that up. If Dara, the first person he hired, follow me here, in 2017, he nominated General Counsel Tony West, whose sister-in-law is Kamala Harris, whose wife is Kamala Harris's campaign manager. If Kamala Harris tweeted support for the drivers, she better stick and stay on that path, right? Because she cannot afford to lose the vote of 380,000 drivers. And this is not a political live stream, whether you're Republican or Democrat. I'm going to respect both sides. I'm purely talking Uber strategies, why they brought this dude in, right? So we're going to hold her accountable. We can vote for you or we can vote against you. It all will play out how they show up in this vote, right? If this guy is using her as a political figure to change things in the political system that'll hurt us, we have the voting power. Understand, Samuel's voting power, Experts' Choice's voting power, Retro Cootie voting power, WI Executive voting power. It's my mechanic. Let me just take that quickly. Hola, Ruben, ¿cómo está? Good morning. Sorry, say that again?
I just called, and the guy told me, I hear something funny about it. I don't feel confident with this guy because this only guy I know that does those kind of things. So he says on the phone, hey, I have a bird here. He said, I think I was a fucking bird. And obviously, let's make some dough. You know, they're speaking I kind of understand it. He said, well, let's share some money. I'm sure they go to the same engine and they go to Lambo, paint it up, and they give back. Let me charge you $700.
Okay.
$700. I say it's not too much. He said, yeah, but the price went up and everything's getting crazy.
Oh, are you talking the VW or which car are you talking?
The VW guy. So the guy says it has a little cracks on the bottom, guaranteed it will leak and everything else.
Okay.
So I say you can weld it. Obviously, the welding is not a good idea because.
Okay.
So I called the guy who got the parts in the valley. He says 750 or 725, whatever. It's a brand new crank case. The case.
Okay.
So he told me, don't buy that shit because you know what's gonna happen is it start leaking and you have to repair it. I said, you know what? No, I don't wanna do that fucking thing.
Okay.
This guy, they wanna. You don't want to use my new parts. He said, I want to use my own parts because what they're going to do, they're going to machine it. So there will be kind of a chance, like a 50-50 chance. If something happens, we have to get part all over again. It's kind of a waste of time.
Okay.
So this guy, they want to make money. I'm thinking we should buy a new case. I think that's most thing we have to do. That's the last thing we have to spend.
Okay. What is the new case cost for the? I mean, you.
25 or 35, it costs 750.
750?
I think that's the best way to do it than I deal with this shiner because they try to ruin me. That's
but if we buy the new case, then you're going to assemble it at.
No, I don't have to send it over. It's brand new. It's brand new. I have everything, all the parts here. There's only thing. That's the last thing I send them over because I want to make sure everything's straight and no cracks. So they say they found the cracks. I'm not really 100% sure they need or not.
Okay.
But there's this sucker. They really want to screw me over.
Try to hold us hostage. Hey, can I call you in a few minutes? I'm busy right now. I'm going to call you and then we'll just make a decision on that. Okay.
No problem.
Okay.
I want to just keep in touch with you about this. I don't want to do it my own.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. I appreciate it. Gracias.
No worries.
Okay, buddy, I'll talk to you just now. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. So I'm sorry, and that was just a decision on one of the cars, whether one goes ahead and pays more money. Is the only reason why I allowed you guys to listen in is like you got to make those decisions sometimes, right, on repairs. You know, when you get confronted with higher cost than it would originally cost. So your sister-in-law, Kamala Harris, along with several other Democratic presidential candidates, tweeted support for drivers when they staged protests outside this very building and held a worldwide strike last month. Your wife is her campaign manager. Did that cause any dissent at home? His answer is no. We definitely support workers' right to make their voices heard. If that is through demonstration, protests, or strikes, we support that because we live in a country that supports free speech. I'm not buying this, right? They didn't support that. They were scared of this. They definitely didn't enjoy the demonstrations. So I'm not buying his answer here. I'm 100% supportive of my sister-in-law's campaign for president. As a family member, she makes me proud. As a citizen, she gives me great hope. Okay, that's his whole story. There it is, right? So my only worry there is that they brought this dude in because they want some political influence. So we'll be monitoring this very, very carefully. I'm going to jump back into the room here. We're almost at the 1 hour mark. We're going to be winding it down. Samuel Song says, Uber and Lyft are sneaky. Yes, they are. Eugene Max says, I'm not getting paid like independent contractor. Expert's Choice says, who bought a new $75 million home in Beverly Hills? Exactly, on our backs. It was 72 million, by the way. Or maybe it was 75. I think as independent drivers, we should make our own rates. We should sit down with them and discuss the rates that we are willing to compromise on. But if everybody makes their own rates, there is a website for independent chauffeurs and limos called Ride Links where you nominate your rate. The bottom line is if you pimp yourself out to the lowest trip, you're willing to work for crumbs, right? So I don't think it's always a good choice to allow every driver just to nominate their rate. I think that would be detrimental to many people, right? To many drivers. So I think we got to be at the table and decide what's the absolute minimum. As I've heard from this Tony West guy, he made it very, very clear. Hey, when you're actually driving a passenger, you're on the clock. Yeah, we got to take care of better rates there. But as before, when you're driving around, your app is on and you don't have a passenger in the car, basically time we waiting for the next rider for Uber, 20 minutes downtime, 30 minutes, we're waiting. Guess what? His answer was, we're not going to pay for that, right? So, are they factoring that into the equation, right? If we're looking at a 6-hour shift and of those 6 hours, we maybe have 1.5 hour downtime, are they actually only looking at 3.5 hours that they will pay and they're ignoring the other 1.5 hours? No, we had to sit there for 1.5 hours in order to get that trip, reposition us, go over there, get that trip. So I think you got to look at the full 6 hours. He says, according to his answer, no, only the time when you're driving. How do you feel about that? James Skidmore says, just my opinion, and I'm glad people have opinions. You got to voice your opinions here. You get that chance to say what you want. Unless you're being hateful and trolling, of course, we're going to kick you out. Christopher Kelly in the house. Thank you for the 2. Thank you for the shout out, my friend. I appreciate you. Sam Johnson, under regulation, I believe they will have to pay the time while you're on the app driving or not at minimum wage. I think whoever represents us at the table, I wish I was at the table. I wish that we had a driver from, every major city in California at the table, and then if it goes to Florida, you have a driver from every district and county in Florida at the table, right, with legal representation. I wish we were at the table, right? But I agree with Sam that we should be paid for the downtime, right? We should be paid for the downtime. You can't just ignore all the hours and minutes we sit around waiting in our car, waiting for the next passenger. Journey with Jordan in the house. Nice to see you, my friend. Good to see you there. Drug testing Uber drivers will make the road safer and take care of oversaturation. Mike Bastoni, Hawaii has high rates. Who's ever tried this out? A little bit on the sweet side. Tommy. Paula, why do you say that? Yeah, I'd love to be at the table. I really would. And the one thing, the other guys, I think when I went up to Sacramento, the other guys didn't quite believe how I get in their face, right? I confront the Uber guys. I talk to the people at the table. I can make a video on that, how I got a great scoop. When I walked into the Capitol, I would talk to politicians there. Who can we speak to? They would guide me. You got to get in front of these people and ask tough questions, right? A lot of these people said, am I live on your feed? I don't want to be live on a feed. Yeah, it's because you're a coward, because you're not prepared to take a position, because you don't have an opinion. So we knocked on doors, we walked in, and sort of went on a solo mission for a while, right? Got to get to the truth, guys. And we got a lot of truth out of our day there, right? That if Uber paid these people, if it's true, Lord, shameful. Beth from Chicago, I want the new Chicago mayor to value the safe rides we provide late at night in Chicago. My passengers have been telling me they would have to go home sooner from their friends without us. Interesting. Thank you for sharing. Rideshare source driver, I will try that. Thank you. Surge 8 stock, how about minimum wage plus 58 a mile for every driven mile with or without a passenger? Those are good numbers you can put forward. So when you put those numbers forward, he has an idea. This is what I think we should get. Now let's hash it out. Got to have a starting point there. Hanny Solomon, thanks for the videos. Thank you for being part of the room. Thank you for being part of the movement, Hanny. I appreciate you. Snoop A, hello everyone. How are you, buddy? Welcome to the house. Dallas, Texas in the house. Snoop's in the house. Good to see you. Gary Kubeta, keep up the work. We'll keep up, all of us together. We'll keep it up, right? Share Kevin's videos, subscribe to him, go to Dave, subscribe to him, share the videos. Dustin had both our live streams, myself and Kevin's live stream going, put it out to his audience. That is what's helpful, right? When we broadcast that message out there, right? So that these guys like Tony West come into this room and read this. So Deanna says, love that Torsten stayed professional at the rally, too many others. Yeah, at the rally, I think our job was to be a facilitator, a listener, and to catch scoops, right? To ask good questions and let them, maybe trap themselves. Like one guy talk, and then sometimes you talk too much, right? Loose lips sink ships, right? So and then you suddenly venture off and, well, I got paid for this. Oh, hang on one second. What, did you say you just got paid for this? Okay, like that's the scoop we want. So we were facilitators, listeners, and broadcasting while other people were rebroadcasting. So it's a role you got to play. It's a day you got to take off. I wish I could have stayed, just grabbed a hotel, stayed the next night for one more day. But several people in my car had commitments the next day, right? Would have been nice to do back-to-back, rally the one day, strikes the next day. So Journey says, I can't control the fact Dustin has 939,295 mods. Your point is, Journey, what point you're trying to make with that? Do you want to control that or you don't want to control that? Like, what's your point? Let's get to the point. Rideshare source driver, Dallas is great. Awesome. Glenn Chu. Hi, back to you, Glenn. Welcome. Mike Bastoni says, money, keep going down. Yeah, we're going to drive it back up. Payman Ali, simply documenting what really happened is beneficial. Right you are, my friend. Right you are. John Baker, each on should create an individual profit loss daily account of overhead costs versus expenses. This should be based on vehicle and whether UberX or Black. Good point. I hope you guys are doing that. Have a good idea what your expenses are. Have a good idea what your maintenance is, what your income is, you know, how many hours you're putting in. You got to like really work it out down to the cent what you're actually making. Adventure Girl Paula on Dustin's channel. What's on Dustin's channel? I'm trying to get to the bottom of this little discussion between Journey and Paula here. So Journey says Paula is blaming me for something on Dustin's channel when it was another mod on there. Okay, I can't report on that because I haven't seen it and I haven't listened to both sides. So you guys should be working together, not against each other. Caesar Milan, Caesar in the house. Love you back, my friend. Caesar, shout out to Caesar. Ali, hi, Professor. What do you think is a decent per mile rate for UberX and per minute rate? You know, I would say start off with jacking it up 25, 30%. Push it up 25, 30% and start taking it from the rider. The rider is treated like royalty here, right? Driver's being treated like trash here. I'm sorry to say that, but, you know, give up on this side. Give it over here, right? You got to immediately bump this up 25 to 30%, right? There's just too much being trimmed down in the last 12 to 24 months. Just doesn't make sense in certain categories. UberX, I would not get in an UberX in Los Angeles anymore. I wouldn't do it. Absolutely. Yeah, let's try to work together. I agree on that. Divided we fall, united we are powerful. Guys, if you haven't registered at streetteams.com, please do it. There are a lot of people registering there, a lot of good stuff. Yeah, that we don't have to call any brothers and sisters here meth addicts. That's just wrong. Firstly, he doesn't do meth, and I know him, so that's counterproductive. If it's true, that's counterproductive. Drivers United and those guys did a phenomenal job. These guys here, every single one of you. I wish I had every single one of yours name, every single one of you. I'd literally give every single one a shout out for 20 minutes for just being there and fighting the fight. You know, and this crowd is triple the crowd that Uber paid for. Uber's crowd was about that much over here, if that, and maybe possibly paid for. These are real fighters. Not to say that the other people the other day were not real fighters. They're all drivers. But you can't show up and sell your soul for $100. These guys were not paid. This whole crowd here was not paid $100. No, they followed each other convoy, paid for their gas, just like we did, right? So they didn't receive 100, they probably spent 100. Paul Figueroa. George Medeiros, we need to unionize as soon as we are allowed to. So, I mean, we definitely need a collective bargaining power. You know, whether it's packaged up as a new type of driver union, maybe we need to form one. Maybe we need to look into the legalities of forming a nationwide or California-wide union, driver union, right? Love and Lights in the house. How are you? She says, I'm saying drug testing would be iffy no longer Paula, tone it down a bit. You're getting a little, let's come down a notch. Jordan, don't feed it. This is not about like you two guys. Otherwise, I'm going to give you both a timeout. This is like a classroom where two people in the classroom are fighting. Both tone it down, please. Pete Brown, if you're not employees, then you cannot have a union. Correct. Right on that, my friend. Very right on that. So what we're saying, Pete, is something similar to a union, right? These laws, these books are going to be rewritten, right? It's not going to be the old, and it's not going to be employee. It's going to be a whole new set of rules, right? So if we can, I don't want to come across as a teacher. That's not my role here, right? My role is to push this cause forward, is to push better earnings. I don't need squabbles breaking out, right? We're not in third grade or fourth grade anymore. We're grown up people. So let's act like grown up people. Jason Garrett, I hate it when a rider gets in the car smelling like weed and the next rider blames it on you. Yeah, that, like, when I smell that, like, oh, I usually keep the windows a little bit over, or like, hey, guys, we're not going to smoke weed in the car. We'll do a weed stop, right? And for some of my VIP clients, I do like the classic weed stop. I told them straight up, I cannot afford to have that weed or that smoke smell in my car. Absolutely refuse. Right? If they try to sneakily do it at the back and I smell it, the moment I get a whiff of that in my car and somebody's doing it, I stop the car and I said, let's take a 5-minute break. But it's unfair towards the next family, to the next child, right? I'll lose that client. So if we could, and they understand, they stop. Let me just tell you on the drug testing journey that if you are a limo driver or a chauffeur, I get a random call up, right? It could be a 24-hour call up to go for a drug test, right? And it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It'll happen maybe once every 6-8 months, and you go in, right? Costs maybe a $70, $80. I don't think it's a bad thing, right? But would you have to undergo one to qualify? You couldn't even, Uber and Lyft couldn't even introduce it. The cost factor would be for the roof. Let's say the money that they have to spend to acquire, to get a new driver would be running a background check against them, paying for a drug test. Those acquisition costs, those driver acquisition costs would be so high from a company point of view, right? Before they take drip one, they may even only stay with a company for 2 weeks. So are they going to shell out the money for a background check, a drug test? No, the costs would go through the roof. Doesn't make any sense. What makes sense is if you maybe have specific drivers in certain categories, whether it's SUV or Lux, that'll, where you're asking supersonic rates, and you're making supersonic earnings, is that you may request that they go and undergo periodic drug tests, right? To be a TCP driver in LA, be prepared. The day will come where they'll say, hey, you come in 24 hours, you're going to come in for a drug test. I did it about 3 months ago. I had to show up, right? And that's not alcohol tests. So if you went out partying the night before, no, they will be looking for, do you have heroin in your blood? Do you have meth in your blood? Do you have cocaine in there? No. And if you're not a drug addict, you're fine. You have nothing to worry about. I have nothing to worry about. I don't need that stuff, right? So yeah, I'll show up, go do my drug test. Fine. That's part of staying on the road. Sign me up. Rideshare 411. I'm sure AB5 will be a new law on Jan 20. The politicians in California want it. California is one of the richest states. Yeah, it's going to be a fine balance, Rideshare 411. Obviously, they want to see an angle of making money here, but at the same time, understand there's an army of lobbyists right now working at the Capitol, right? Paid by, what's Geo called what, idiot? Who? Felix, who? What? You guys still getting way too much involved in politics here. He said, she said, doesn't get you anywhere. Don't feed. Kanuch Chronicles, how are you, my friend? Good to see you here. I like that turquoise logo. Very cool. I like it. Yeah. Weed, CBD is all legal in California. Ringo's in the house. Russell Ringo's in the house. Alan Cassidy, Goat for Life. Alan, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, that's my point here, Serge. Here's a good point. Is this live chat about pot or AB5? Just so that you guys know, this whole stream that I'm doing is about AB5, right? So if you want to take it off into a different direction, go and join a YouTube live feed that specifically talks about that, right? CBD oils, pot. You guys can have a whole other discussion there. I'm okay with it, right? But here we are talking about a bill that's advanced, who went up there, who did the work, the soldiers that showed up for our cause, that striked, the rally that Uber did apparently. This is what we're reporting on. And then what I want you guys to know that it's really important to follow the progress. So if you go to Legiscan, there it is, right? You put in the CAAB5, you get the whole progress. Guys, this is the stuff that I'm interested in. Where are we in the negotiations? How is this thing moving, right? On yesterday, on the 11th, is that right? Was yesterday the 11th? Correct. Yesterday was the 11th. There was another amendment. So here all these amendments are starting. So, you know, then you could see, you could look into those amendments, right? What has been amended? What are they talking about? There's a lot of back and forth before we get a final resolution here, but it has advanced. It has advanced. Dark technology, Joe Ramirez, Scent Bomb, Mango Tropical, hands down the best. Cool. Mango Tropical, by what? What's the brand that you buy, Dark Technology? I use the eucalyptus brand, and it's called Now, N-O-W. Mario S, what's up, my friend? Sevak Akopian says rubbish. What are you saying rubbish to? Rubbish to what? Guys, be clear. Like, who are you answering there? Like little tiffs are going on here. I see two people ranting and raving and fighting each other, another two people. But good, we've got dialogue. As long as you guys are not too fixed on the whole pot issue and that, let's stick to this here. Let's stick to what's going to pay you at the end of the day. Whether you like pot or whether you don't like pot, you're going to have to go out and drive and earn your pot, right? So pot of gold, pot of marijuana, whatever it is. This is important, guys. This is important. Yeah, so Ivan says, where can I buy some Mango Tropical OG? Retro Cootie, does this mean AB5 will stop autonomous cars for Uber and Lyft? That whole movement, Retro Cootie, is not going to stop. They have already put so much money into that, right? This is just about addressing human drivers. Other bills will follow when it comes to the real autonomous car time, right? There will be new bills, transportation bills that will regulate that market, and everything's going to change and shift. Right now, they're looking at real humans driving real cars. Should they be regarded as employees? Should we treat them the same old way and keep them in the independent contractor box? My gut feel is we're going to move somewhere to the middle. My gut feel is we're going to come out better. But I still think like collective bargaining power of voice, they shouldn't be able to shut us up here, right? Like they've done in New York, right? We should be really part of the discussion at all times. If you want to change something, we're at the table. If you want to change something, we're going to come to the table. We are the workforce. We are the heart, the kidneys, the liver, the lymphatic system, the cardiovascular system, the brain, the vision of rideshare. That's who we are, right? We are what makes the heart. Conrad, we are the heart of the company. We make that body go. Trip rideshare. So Trip won't have employees. They are ready for independent contractor status. Okay, that's good to know. I have a Trip update for you. I'm serving papers on their headquarters, as well as several people slandering and putting out misinformation on GOAT, right? Purely because I called the company an MLM company. You don't have to turn around and trash my name, my company. You don't have anything to report on me, so don't make up stuff. So I got to stand up for myself. Easy. I don't do the dirty work. Attorneys do the dirty work. So I'm going to serve papers on that company, as well as other individuals that know who they are. And then they can show up. They can fly in. They'll have their day in court as we move on. I have new car smell spray I bought on Amazon. Great stuff. Okay, got to try. Good. You can get that new car smell. Put that keyword in. What does that cost? Slybright, what does that cost? That a new car smell on Amazon. I can check it up, but maybe you have a price. No, I agree, Journey with John. There's nothing wrong with MLM company structure. I'm just saying it is set up as an MLM. And then people will say, I'm dumb, I'm stupid. It's not. It is. The whole back end system of the company is built on MLM. Influencer, signing up influencer. So I have a right to report on. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I've signed up for MLMs. I've made money. I've made a lot of money with Janessa. I made a lot of money with Herbalife, right? But I'm not passionate about it, so I don't do it anymore. But there's nothing wrong with multi-level marketing. 90% of them fail, right? 10% succeed because they have a product, right? But I made a video saying they are MLM, and I got the counter spin, the trolls, the haters, including union people. After I took a position against them, they came out hitting me on my texts, on my emails, hate messages. Here, buddy, if you think that you're going to influence me with false reports, with threats to my email, swivel, baby. Knock you out when I see you face to face. Don't worry about that shit. So that stuff doesn't intimidate me. Journey, many real estate businesses are also MLM to a certain degree, not so much the real estate companies. The traditional Sotheby's, Keller Williams, Coldwell Bankers, Century 21 are not MLM companies. There are some emerging ones, but not in its true MLM form. I really haven't seen any real estate MLM companies. I truly just got switched out for the top of the line iPhone. Beautiful phone. Coming up to 12. Yeah, okay, that's a good point, Canna Chronicles. A feature on the GOAT platform that talks about these bills, so we can keep each other updated. I like that. I will shoot that over to my tech team. Sean Beniga says, design online petition with our demands, get thousands of driver signatures, send directly to AB5 politicians. Very good point, my friend. Yeah, having an attorney also looking into like a petition like that, you know, that's where the contributions, that's where the contributions on Street Teams and goatrideshare.com, if you haven't been there, guys haven't helped drive a cause forward. That's what we're paying, like even paying for attorneys to get petitions going to protect our rights. It's all under that banner. you haven't been there, go check it out. If you haven't registered on this one, the words on my cap, go and create your profile, and please upload a photo so I can see who you are. So when you jump in here, I know who I'm talking to, right? Speaking of attorneys, did you sell Legal Shield? No, I was pitched on Legal Shield a few times. What's your beef, or what's your comment on Legal Shield, Trip, Rideshare? What do you want to share about them? Journey with Jordan says, I like Dave, the Uber slave's idea that passengers can offer bonuses for short trips so they can get picked up faster without drivers dodging them. That's cool. I like that too. Do you think AB5 will be retroactive? No, I don't. Honestly, I don't see that being retroactive. That's sort of that. The company might as well fold and close if it becomes retroactive, and if they were all treated as classic employees and they had to pay all that retroactive pay. It's not going to happen. No, they're not on my mind. I use them when I need them, Trip, Rideshare. They do the dirty work. They deal with the dirty ones, with the trolls. That's when you have to pay people. You have no other choice. You can't spread yourself thin and do everything yourself. You've got to pay people to do that. So are they on my mind? Maybe an hour a day when I have a meeting? Sure, it's part of the business equation. No, Uber is not out of California, definitely. It's one of the hottest markets. Lyft actually makes more in California than Uber does. It's not their main market. And why do I say that? Is because Uber is in tons of overseas cities as well. You know, cities like London make them great money. Professor, in regards of GOAT, what will you do about passenger reports, knowing that 99% of them are false reports? So after a trip, a report comes in, what you are saying is that 99% of those reports are false, right? That's what you are saying. So I'm going to tell you, Mohammed, that the GOAT platform is not going to pimp itself out and be a company that'll pick up every little desperate trip. Here, $2 there, $3 there. No, it's going to be more a la carte. It's going to be more, how can I put it? A more sophisticated, classy platform, right? Where we line up, where we match riders with drivers, where riders have like their top 3 choices, and will actually, every time they do have a future trip, put it out to their top 3, right? So you can line up good people with good people, right? So there doesn't have to be all that false reporting. A lot of emphasis is going to be put on scheduling with a rider that truly has nominated either Deanna or Samuel or Payman Ali as their top driver. And let's say Payman Ali gets first option. Can't do that trip that day on that Saturday morning, drive them to the airport, gets passed down to the second one. But so that the rider has a lot of control over picking his or her favorite best drivers. That'll be based on safety, reliability, cleanliness, all of those factors, right? A far more 5-star a la carte driving experience versus just pimping yourself out to any and every type of trip, right? Because that's really when you open up the floodgates to a lot of problems, a lot of false reports, a lot of riffraff. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. No, I'm not. Only California, Charles. Sorry. Right now, only California. Premium service. Samuel, hopefully Uber will sit down with multiple drivers from multiple California cities and address AB5 issues. And I think that's going to sweep over to other states, to other countries, right? They're going to be looking at what's going on here, what was discussed, what's agreed upon these parties. Sevaka Kopian, I'm a 10-star driver. Whoop, whoop. Doubled up 5 + 5. I like that. Juan Garcia's in the house. How are you, buddy? Enrique, riffraff, hilarious. Well, hey, I don't want that crazy dude in the back of the car that started getting undressed and started beating up. I don't want those type of people. We've got to, you know, if Uber wants to drive them, great. But we got to implement ways to keep that out, because like safety is huge. Not enough has been done on the safety issue by Uber and Lyft. Spend more money there. Omar Delgado, what do you think about Lyft kicking out? Yeah, that whole thing there with the comfort ride and changing the requirements now. They say 2014. People committed to 2012 vehicles. People committed to 2013. Now you're suddenly flipping it on them and saying those cars are obsolete. Let's take the San Diego market, where they just kick out the select thing, right? The select category. And they say now for comfort cars, if you qualify, right? If your car qualifies, it's got to be 2014. What happens to the driver who just committed to a 2012 car? He bought it and is making payments. Now suddenly he gets booted off that select platform, and now he can only do X trips. He doesn't even qualify for comfort rides. I mean, was this thought out? Was this thought through? These are these crazy, idiotic, overnight decisions made by these companies. How do they make these decisions, right? That affect drivers daily. It's wrong. So I think there's going to be a lot of backlash on that, big time. Diana, it's Vava, and it has a 360 swivel mechanism. It's great. See it in my car. If you look at any of the videos of us driving up to Sacramento in my Escalade, you will see it right up there in the middle. Will Uber follow the trucking industry? When a new law comes out, they adjust how they treat their drivers to keep them independent with better pay, of course. Well, hey, if you're addressing the pay issue and you keeping the driver happy, he's going to continue getting into that truck, right? So that might be working for the truck industry, maybe working well. So maybe that's something to look at, right? But you can't just keep on pushing same old, and diminishing the rights, diminishing the earnings of drivers and think you're going to get away from it. At some point, they're going to rebel. At some point, there's going to be a revolution. At some point, they're going to strike. They're going to stand up and fight you. And that's what's happened. And they underestimated the backlash. Chopping, cutting rates. Well, eventually, drivers had enough. So part-timer, I like that idea. If it's truly working for those truckers, right, if there are amendments and changes making they're getting better pay, the trucker will keep on driving, right? It's a no-brainer. So maybe they are looking out more for their drivers in that industry than the rideshare industry, right? I mean, what motivates a trucker to drive, cross country, putting in 10, 12-hour shifts, right? Obviously, independence, the pay, things like that. Journey says, what do you think of the allegedly paid protesters at the rally? Yeah, the word is allegedly. If they were paid the $100, shame on every single one of you that sold your soul for $100. Shame on Uber if they did indeed hire a company who then paid these guys to pitch, to talk a certain talk, right? Disgusting. Do you want to know what I think about that, Journey? It's good that the story came out. It's good that we went up there and exposed that and caught these people reporting on that. Not just one. We had 2 people on camera reporting that they got paid for the time driving. They got paid for showing up. Then they got their little T-shirt. They got their little slice of pizza. Apparently they were happy. When it was all over, they left like that. It was gone. It was done. They were all disappeared. Nobody milled around to continue talking. No, they were gone. Paid, gone. Apparently paid, gone. Allegedly paid, gone. John Bauer, I've never connected with YouTube influencers and other drivers until I saw we were getting shafted left and right. Saw the need to connect with others to protect our position. That's very, very well said, John Bauer, right? So, you know, you now, you using your voice. John's using his voice. And how does he do it? How does the other person do it? You go and look at the people that have your back, right? Whether Dustin has your back, whether Torsten Rideshare driver has your back, where Dave, where multiple people have your back. Join them, participate, because every word, every letter you write counts. They read this. They have a division that reads this every day. They want to pick up on things. They want to vibe drivers out. They want to see what we're reporting on. They want to see what we know, or do we know too much, or do we know too little. They jump in these rooms. I will put money on it that they have a division that scours all of these videos, right? Because that's where they get real input by real people, by real drivers. Mark Biss in London, welcome. What is abundantly clear, pressure does cause change. Amen. Extreme pressure over time equals diamonds. Pressure on GOAT drivers. Yeah, he's 150% right. Keep the pressure on. Stand up for being a GOAT, a greatest of all time driver. Stand up for your rights. Share. I encourage every single one of the people in this room, get yourself a Facebook account, your private Facebook, as well as your business, your name, your brand. Decide on a brand. Set up that same brand on Twitter. Set up that same brand on Instagram. Set up that same brand on YouTube, etc., and then start sharing your story, your input, your opinions, right? Share, subscribe, tweet, get it out. Social media is so powerful. It's so powerful. If you're in a city like, let's say, Los Angeles, how many people will actually still go out and buy the Los Angeles Times in paper version? Very few. You might drop into a Starbucks as a driver and grab a newspaper and read a couple of headlines. But when you're sitting in your car and you have access to your iPhone or your Android, right? Android, iPhone, two phones, ring a bell, right? You then start engaging with social media, LosAngelesTimes.com. Let me jump over to New York Times. Let me go to CNN. Let me go on to Instagram. Let me go and see what's going on in the drive room on Facebook. Let me see what Harry's tweeted, right? Social media is so powerful, right? This year is so powerful. Got to jump in and get it going. Jeffrey Durandis, Trip is trolling on steroids. Trip is going to get the rudest awakening, right? I've spoken to their directors and asked them to monitor the spamming of multiple channels that cost us an insane amount of time and money to clean up codes that are just, there's no control within the structure, right? There's no person on the top that is sending out memos and says, listen, you can't do this stuff, or create your own channels, right? But, you know, for the lazy trolls spamming their codes in other people's channels, they're not controlling that, right? They're not even understanding what laws govern spamming, and they allow this freely to happen. There's just zero control there in management, right? And I've had enough. Spent enough time with these trolls, these goons, these haters, that the only way you hit them is the wallet, is the pocket, right? Come and engage in an $80,000 lawsuit, start spending money. Then maybe you'll change your tune, right? But I will not tolerate that any longer. I made up my mind. In Sacramento, I made up my mind. When people are trying to extort, when Trip people are trying to extort $10,000 out of me, trying to extort me, and the company is allowing that to happen, or the company is trying to silence GOAT, or the unions are trying to silence my channel because I'm speaking up against the unions who are doing backroom deals with Uber, guess what? You'll never silence us. I'll be here tomorrow, the next day, right? I'll expose the Uber stories, the trip stories. I'll tell it as it is, right? So you want to come with your vile toxin hatred, shut you down. It's going to cost you money. Be prepared. What people hate is when papers get served at their offices, right? Multiple papers. Multiple people are mentioned as defendants. They hate that shit. Trip rideshare. Yeah, I think you're out, Trip. I think we gave you a lot of time to market yourself here, and I think your time is up, buddy. Papa Bear, how are you? Kenneth Morrison in the house. Yeah, so it opens in Florida on the 18th, and I want it to succeed. And if I call it an MLM, I'll call Trip an MLM. But I will not have Trip paid trolls from Miami attacking and slandering my name, my company, right? Just because I called it an MLM. MLM could succeed. It is a definite, good, smart way to make a lot of noise. But with an MLM, you have to have a product. It means you have to have real drivers and you'll have to have real riders. That's got to be the product. And I hope they succeed. Yeah. But the people that want to, at Trip, that want to play the other game, be prepared. I don't take your punches. I counter punch and I knock out. So be prepared, right? That's all I can say. Bishop, if David, Bishop, and Bob McNulty can't handle all the people that are spamming, relentlessly spamming good channels and are not taking control, and there's no consequences, and they're not deactivating Trip drivers and sending a strong message like Uber or Lyft does sometimes to people that spam, or that spread, hateful, defaming, slandering language. If they cannot take a stand, I'm sorry. I'll take a stand for you. It is an MLM. So, Papa Bear, what's your point? Right, influencer signing up, influencer. But I ask you, Papa Bear, tell us here honestly, are you an influencer or are you an influencer driver? So, let me ask the question to this guy. Here, I'm going to make my point right now. So if you sign up as an influencer that signs up an influencer, correct me if I'm wrong. Is that not a multi-level marketing? The whole back-end system is a multi-level marketing platform, right? And you have people that are attacking drivers, right? That have done trips, that are forming companies you've never ever driven, right? You're an influencer. Trying to influence this guy, trying to recruit this guy, And then you are making videos and you are pretending that you know the talk of the street and that you're pretending to be a driver and talk about Uber and Lyft, about fares, when you have never driven yourself because you're an influencer. Okay. Now, if you're an influencer, driver, I have more respect for you. I have way more respect for you. Okay, you're going to be paying $249, right? I'm not attacking you, Papa Bear. I'm asking, I want to get some clarity on this, right? Because I have a group in Miami that is trashing me on Rip-Off Report, blah, 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 and they don't even know me, right? They don't even know, that I'm trying to get a company out, that I'm trying to stand up to the bullies, Uber and Lyft. They don't know me. They don't know what I stand for, but they'll go and trash my name because I call this an MLM. There is nothing wrong with a multi-level marketing system if you have a product. And the product that an MLM rideshare company needs is a driver platform and a rider platform. They have the opportunity to rock and roll on August the 18th, and I want it to work. But if executives can't control an army of people that are slandering and that are spamming, I start questioning the management style, right? Not attacking Papa Bear at all. You have a platform here, Papa Bear, to voice yourself, right? To engage with all the rideshare people, with all the drivers. You even have a chance to, if you wanted to put your, if Papa Bear said, hey, may I put my trip link there and sign up people? By all means, I give you the permission. I will okay that to put your link, right? But I want you to come to the party and give us clarity. Who are you? What do you stand for? How is this set up? I maintain, I made a video that it is set up as an MLM, right? Never once would I be stupid to call it a scam. Some people say, is Trip a scam? Question mark. It's not saying Trip is a scam. It's a question. Is Trip a scam? People start reporting on that. Some of those videos were made by others, right? But if I call them out on the basics, I say, hey, I think this is set up as an MLM. And sometimes MLM, the marketing of an MLM is like wildfire. They've made a lot of noise in a short time, which is great. Now manage it properly, offer good rates, good incentives to drivers and riders to come on board. Show us the marketing plan for riders. They're important. They're going to bring you the money. And may this company succeed, right? So I am in no shape or fashion attacking Papa Bear. In fact, if he wanted to put his trip link in here, he can. Giving you a platform here to, right? But this other guy, Trip Rideshare, who, you know, is attacking Uber and Lyft and calling them scammers or whatever, you're out, buddy. You're out. You get one chance. You're out of this house. We're not saying GOAT is the best. We are building GOAT together, right? This is real drivers are building this together, right? To try and learn from mistakes, right? To not do that or not do that, but like come up with a better product, right? And we should have an equal shot, right? Trip should have an equal shot, but not try and put your fellow company and brothers and sisters down by squandering the internet with false reports. You know who you are, buddy. You know who you are and you're behind it. I'm going to fly you down from Miami. I'm going to show up here. You get a chance to defend your position. Sorry, had to vent there. My little chance to vent. I appreciate you allowing me to vent. Guys, this Legiscan here, if you haven't been on it, go and type in the AB5 on that website, Legiscan, and follow here date by date. It's like gives you a report what the chamber, what action was ruled on what date. Pretty cool. It's moving forward. And I'm also now, I'm going to be ending this. We're going to do the thumbs up together. Got to pick up clients, pick up my kids, but I'm going to put 2 links. The link of the questions and answers that Tony West gave on the San Francisco Chronicle are really worthwhile reading. Read them, right? The position that they take. We have to hold them accountable, right? The progress on this bill on Legiscan, I'm going to put that link right underneath here. So allow me to continue with my day. I'm up to 1 hour and 50 minutes. I say thank you. Thank you, Journey with Jordan. I appreciate you being part here. Crystal Math, I appreciate you. Tito Lugo, what is MLM? MLM is you can look it up, you can Google it. It's called multi-level marketing. It's a way to build a company, but you have to have a product, right? It's when you sign up distributors and influencers to market the company. It's a specific, very aggressive, smart way to grow a company, but it all is based on a true good product. Juan Garcia, cheers. Diana, thank you guys. Let's get the Let's see. Let's see. There we go. Thank you, guys. Whoop, 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 whoop. Now that is the frequency for the day. You guys and girls go out there. Please drive safe. May you get some very well-paying trips today. Stay engaged. Follow the AB5. Stay on top of matters. Love and light. Appreciate that. Thank you. And keep circulating the videos. Keep jumping around in the different channels. There's a lot of good people reporting on this, right? We're keeping this in the news, right? We're letting politicians know this is real and we're concerned about it. We're keeping this in the headlines. And we're doing a great, great job at it. In fact, you are doing an amazing job at it, right? The people just circulating the stories, sharing the stories, staying engaged in the stories. That's what this is all about. Peace and love, my friends. Appreciate you all. Until the very next video or live stream from the Rideshare Professor from streetteams.com. Enjoy your day.